Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of our CK2 tutorial series. I've named it Irish Spring. Yeah, don't ask me why. Anyways, so our last episode we covered basically the different kinds of counselors that you can have. We covered sort of just the basics, very basics of playing as a Catholic feudal ruler. And in this episode, we're going to be covering some of the rest of this council screen. We're going to be talking about laws, technology, military, intrigue, factions, and religion to a certain extent. I mean, we're not going to go like super deep into some of these things, but we're going to probably go over them enough to give you a basic understanding of them. And then the super deep type stuff will probably come whenever we actually are engaging with that in the game. So we talked about all this. I could kind of go over with you right now, like assigning these people to different things. However, I want to wait to do that until a little bit later because we're going to be shuffling our council as well. And I don't want to do that just yet. Alright, so something that you will have as a ruler is you'll have a certain amount of minor titles. And what minor titles do is it's a title that you give to somebody within your kingdom that will give them an additional amount of prestige gain per month, an additional stipend, an additional amount of salary, and because of that they will like you a certain amount more. Depending on what your personal rank is will affect how many minor titles you have to give out. So at like the count level and the duke level, you have less than you would at say the king level or the emperor level. So right now we have a few different minor titles that we can give out. So these titles here: designated regent, master of the horse, master of the hunt, high almoner, and cupbearer. These are all titles that are available to you at the ducal level. And as you can see, they all kind of have a different little flavor to them, but they're outside of the designated regent, like the horse, the hunt, the almoner, and the cupbearer don't really serve any practical function other than increasing the opinion of somebody and the prestige of somebody within your court. Designated regent is important because if there's a situation where your ruler either becomes incapable, which means they can't, think for themselves, or they die and your ruler is under the age of 16, which is when a character becomes an adult in Crusader Kings 2, all of technically the realm will be governed by a regent. So if you don't set up a designated regent, one will just be automatically allocated. Generally, if it's a kid, it's probably going to be the kid's mom to start out with, probably. If you go incapable, your regent's probably going to end up being your wife. So this is important because, well, the scores for your kingdom are directly come from your ruler or your regent. So yeah, designated regent can be a pretty important role that you want to fill, but yeah, we'll get to that later. It doesn't mean that you absolutely have to keep it full at all times. In fact, I would recommend don't really worry about it so much until a certain, like your ruler's getting really old, or there are other certain times where you want to keep a designated regent, and we'll go over that a little bit later. Maybe not in this episode, but in a future episode. So as you can see, designated regent, we have one of those titles to give out. It gives a +10 opinion, a salary of 1/10 of a unit of gold a month, and 1.5 prestige a month, which that's actually quite a lot. Master of the horse is less. You get less opinion, less salary, less prestige. Master of the hunt is kind of equal to master of the horse. Now, they do have some flavor text associated with them that kind of like teaches us about the historical role of this particular title. But anyways, high almoner is on equal footing with these two. Cupbearer used to be It used to be worth more opinion, but now it is worth the same amount of opinion as these. However, it is worth more prestige than these, so that is something to remember. Then we have commander level titles. Now, commander level titles, not just any Joe Blow can command your armies. Commanders are people who are not on your council but can control armies for you. So typically people that fill your commander role are going to be people with high martial scores. It says commanders are the only ones after the marshal and the ruler who are allowed to command armies. So the only people who can take control of your armies are rulers and marshal and your commanders. So as you can see, we have 4 commanders right now. We only have spots for 4, but as you go up in rank, you get more spots for commanders. We have a 12, a 10, a 9, and a 12. So that's really not too bad for a small kingdom, to be honest. Okay, then you have your council screen. Now, basically what this is a screen where you can see some things about your council. So we can see, first thing, our council is content. When your council is content, what that means is that the people who are on your council cannot start or join factions while the council is content. Now, it is worth noting, as this says, that nomadic and tribal councilors can always join and start factions, but we are neither nomadic or tribal. Whenever the council is discontent, the liege cannot enforce realm peace. Now, this inform realm peace button here, what that does is basically it's like the liege or your character stands up in the middle of the food fight and says stop, and everybody has to end their wars immediately. It says enforcing realm peace will end all internal wars between your direct vassals. This peace will take effect 3 months after it's been decreed, and what you do is you use this ability to keep your vassals from going too strong within your realm, because what's going to happen within your realm is your vassals can war your other vassals and can take titles from your other vassals. So just for instance, if you see a really large vassal picking on a really small vassal, that would be a good time to enforce realm peace. So, okay, but you can only use it, as you can see here, you can only use it once every 10 years. There are other stipulations as well, but I'm not really going to go into them right now. I don't feel like realm peace is something you need to know about as a beginner to the game. Your counselors can have 5 different mindsets regarding your policies and your laws. The first one is loyalist. Loyalist is where you kind of want your counselors to be, because what that means is basically they are a yes man for you. So anything that you want, they will probably back up. Pragmatist. What a pragmatist basically does is they look out for number one. They're looking out for themselves. So they're going to, like it just says here, it says they're going to aim toward the path of least resistance to increase the power in the realm and for themselves. Generally, pragmatists are fairly easy to work with. Glory hounds. Glory hounds are all about growing the kingdom, but not growing the kingdom through attacking weaker people. They want you to gain great prestige through attacking these bigger, more challenging foes. Then you have Zealot, which Zealots are all about, what is in it for the church. They're all about the church focus. And then you have Malcontents, and this is the worst thing that you can have. A Malcontent is basically somebody who exists only to torment you, and they will pretty much go against everything that you want to do unless it directly benefits them. So as you can see right now on our council, we have 2 Pragmatists and 3 Zealots. Now, just because Chancellor Ragnvald here is a zealot doesn't mean that he will always be a zealot. Counselors can and will change their mindset towards you. As their opinion of you goes up, there's a higher likelihood that they will become a loyalist. So, yeah. All right, so we have 3 zealots and 2 pragmatists. Overall, not terrible. Now, this Liege Council button, as you can see, is grayed out for me, and the reason for that is because what this would be if we had somebody that we were under, we could see who is on his council, and if we were on the council, we could see ourselves and there would be some things that we could do. But there's nobody over us. We are the controller of our own kingdom, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's move on to this laws page. So this is going to be a pretty important page for us. So this page says ducal laws of Mumu. So these are the laws that our duchy currently subscribes to. First tab is the inheritance laws tab, and it says these laws control how succession is done and who will inherit what. We can see this is the heir. So this, if we died right now, this is our primary heir. This is the person who would inherit our primary titles, our primary holdings. We can also see the pretenders. These are people who have claims but don't have, aren't as high in the succession as our primary heir. We can also see the current kind of inheritance that we have. So we have an agnatic, cognatic, gavelkind. Now, agnatic cognatic refers to the gender law that controls the inheritance. Back in this time, it was very, very uncommon. Well, I'll say somewhat uncommon for females to be able to inherit. And what agnatic cognatic means is that women can inherit, but only if there are no eligible males. So if King Murchad here had 5 children, and let's say he had 1 boy and 4 girls, everything that he had would go to that boy unless the boy died. And then if the boy died, then it would start getting parceled out amongst the female heirs that he has. What gavelkind means, gavelkind is actually how things get split. So with gavelkind, there are some benefits and there are some negatives. So what we've got here, it says the titles of the ruler are divided amongst his children. So all of the things get split amongst his kids only. So not nephews, not cousins, not brothers. They are going to be what is going to fill up a lot of this pretender rank. You can see half-brother, nephew, kinsman, half-brother. So these are people that do have claims on the things that are inside of our kingdom. However, they are not set up to directly inherit. The oldest will get the primary title. If the ruler has no children who can inherit, the law will default to primogeniture. Primogeniture means the oldest inherits. You get no prestige penalty for having unlanded sons. You can have a 30% larger domain. Gavelkind is very popular law with everyone except for the oldest child. Imagine that. The oldest child who believes that they should inherit everything is being told that they have to share their toys. Destruction of titles while under gavelkind succession is not allowed. So we'll cover that a little bit later in some other episode, but titles can be destroyed in this game. Sometimes there is good reason to destroy titles in this game, but if you are under gavelkind succession, you cannot destroy titles at all. And then we've already covered women can inherit, but only if there are no eligible males. Now, just because we currently have agnatic, cognatic, gavelkind doesn't mean that we always have to stay with that. You can switch these laws around, but you have to be able to, you have to satisfy some prerequisites. So gender laws, we have agnatic, which means only men can inherit. And you can see in red writing there, it says, changing succession law will displease all vassals, especially those who stand to lose. So you can pretty much guess who, if we change this to, it's going to piss off. Every woman in our family is going to get a penalty. Some of them will be outraged, some of them will be upset. Yeah, basically, the more chance that they would have had to inherit, they will be even more pissed off. Prerequisites for that would be just to have reigned in the title for 10 years. So at 1076, we could switch to agnatic and make it to where only men could inherit, if we so chose. Absolute cognatic means that everybody can inherit on the exact same grounds. So this would probably please the females and piss off the men. For this one, however, you have to reign 10 years, and you have to also have some other very, very special criteria that It's very specific in the game, and we will not be seeing in this playthrough. So basically, suffice it to say that this is kind of hard to get to. You really got to shoot for this one, or it's got to be pretty late game. Then we can talk about succession laws. So there's a few different ones that are open to us, or that we can see. There's elective gavelkind, which instead of the oldest inheriting the primary titles, you get to pick. There is an elective system to where people can vote on which child should inherit the primary titles. And the people who will get votes on that is the ruling dynasty. So other changes from this would be that on succession in kingdoms and empires, so something we don't have to worry about, but maybe in the future, new kingdoms might be created for younger sons if possible. Junior heirs always get the choice to declare independence without a war, so they can just completely break off and there will be no succession war. Seniority, what this does is it just says, hey, everybody in the dynasty, so everybody, uncles, aunts, whatever, the oldest person in the dynasty will inherit everything. So this pisses off your oldest child greatly, but everybody else in the dynasty likes it because it means that everybody else in the dynasty could at some point see the titles and the fame and the glory, whatever. Primogeniture means that the oldest child inherits all titles. So your successor likes this, but all other members of your dynasty will slightly disapprove. Elective monarchy, what this does is the ruler, so us, and each lower rank vassal. So we're a duke. So what this means is if we were to change to elective monarchy, we would get a vote on this, and then everybody in the rank directly under us would also get a vote on this, so counts. If we were a king, then that means that kings and dukes would get a vote on it, but counts would not get a vote. If we were an emperor, it would be emperors and kings, but no dukes and no counts. They get to nominate a successor from among themselves and legitimate children and siblings of the ruler. Dukes are valid electors in both kingdoms. Okay, so dukes are valid electors in empires. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Elective succession is very popular with the vassals, but they will not approve if their liege personally holds too many elector titles. If you have too many votes, they're basically going to be pissed off because you're rigging it. But there are ways around that too. Tanistry is an interesting one. It says the ruler and all vassals at 1 and 2 ranks below can nominate an heir, the tanist, from among the members of the ruler's dynasty. Vassals would tend to favor older members from other branches of the family, especially claimants. Ultimogeniture. Succession law is the opposite of the far more common primogeniture. With ultimogeniture, the youngest child inherits. And that is all we can see right now. Now, some of these are pretty easy to slip into, like elective gavelkind. We just have to reign for 10 years. Some of them are a little bit more difficult. We can see here for seniority, it's a 10-year reign. And then at the bottom, you can see one of these must be true. So if we are a patrician, one of these must be true, not a merchant republic. Petty Kingdom of Mumu is not holder's primary title. Is not in revolt. So basically we could switch over to this one in 10 years as long as we weren't in a revolt and not a merchant republic. Primogeniture. We would have to have a law. We'd have to have late feudal administration or imperial administration to switch over to. So primogeniture is a little bit of a later game succession. Elective monarchy is the same as elective gavelkind. You only need to reign for 10 years. Tanistry is kind of the same ranks as, same kind of stipulations as primogeniture. Ultimogeniture is similar to tanistry. So you unlock most of the succession laws pretty early on in the game. But for a beginner, I would say probably for a beginner, the easiest one to do would probably be primogeniture. I would say would probably be the best, or even basically you want to stick with some kind of a succession law that you're not going to be able to get screwed out of your title. And with elective monarchy, there's definitely a chance that you could bungle the election and you could get your family could get elected out of the title. Even with Gavelkind, you're not going to get elected out of the title. The worst that can happen is you could lose some of your stuff to your brothers and sisters. Anyways. Oh my goodness, there's so much to cover. So much to cover. So we can see. Realm laws. So these are the civic and religious laws of our realm. There are 4 different categories here. We have centralization, which is the balance of how many things can we hold personally versus how many vassals can be under us. It's a give and a take. The more things that you want, more centralized you want the power in the realm, the less vassals you can actually have under you. The opposite is also true. The more vassals you have under you, the less you can personally hold. So, you can see we already have the option to go up to low centralization because of our current technology. And what we would get out of that is our domain size would go up +1. So instead of having a max of 3 things in our domain, we would instead have a max of 4. Now don't be tricked by this vassal limit. It doesn't mean that your vassal limit is going to go up to 27 because if you look here, vassal limit +10. So we're actually going to be losing 5 vassals if we do this. We will lose 5 cap off our vassals. So instead of being able to hold 22 vassals like right now, we would be able to hold 17. Typically, you're going to want to bump this up pretty quickly. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Status of women. This affects what role women can have within your government. So right now we have traditional status of women, which means that they are prohibited from holding all job positions, and some government types will be restricted to agnatic inheritance laws. If we go up to marginal, what this does is it allows for women related to the ruler to hold the office of spy master. So your wife, your mother, I'm not sure if it means your children too, can hold that office of spy master, which can be good because a lot of times your mom or your wife likes you quite a bit. So it's pretty important for your spy master to like you a lot, because if your spy master doesn't like you, then they can be swayed into plots against you, and that can be bad. If you go up to significant, women can be spy masters, chancellors, and stewards. Notable, they can even be marshals, and it allows for the change of gender preference laws. So you can change over to like absolute cognatic, so everybody can inherit. And then full, full, it says allows absolute cognatic. So yeah, it's a little different. And then female rulers do not incur negative opinion modifiers. See, a lot of people do not like a lot of men. Well, actually, pretty much all the men. If you have a female heir or you're a female ruler, they will dislike you, like -5 or -10. It's not a huge penalty, but it is a penalty. But if you go up to full status of women, that completely gets rid of that. So it's good stuff. Revocation of titles. This is, allowing you to take titles from people. Generally, you won't take titles from people unless they do something suitably dastardly and skullduggerous. Right now, we have no title revocation allowed, which means that even if this count right here, even if he tries to stab me, I can't revoke his title. However, if we go up to allowed, and then he does something that's against the law, we can imprison him and then revoke his title. And then religious revocation, this would allow us to revoke titles for people who are infidels. So people who are not of our religion, either heretics or just flat out other religions. And then administration, these laws govern how society controls and organizes ownership of property and wealth. So right now we're feudal. The next up, you go to late feudal administration, and as we saw, what this does is it opens up additional succession laws. And then if you go imperial administration, which is interesting, you open up additional succession laws, but you also can implement duchy viceroyalties, which it's not something I'm going to cover in probably any of these videos, but suffice to say it's pretty interesting. And then you can also revoke those viceroyalty duchy titles for free. You get plus 25 to your vassal limit, but your feudal vassals do dislike this a little bit. It's pretty neat, but it's very late game. Let's finish up this, I think, before we go to a new video. So, obligations. This is where basically the people that are under you have an obligation to you as their lord. They will provide you with tax money, and they will provide you with soldiers. You can think of this almost as like a button slider. On one side you have tax, on the other side you have levy. Levy is soldiers, tax is money. So you can advance these one way or the other, like one step at a time over a course of years, to either get more money from a certain group of people or to get more soldiers from a certain group of people. Now, something you need to keep in mind is different groups of people like to give you different things. So if we look at noble, you can even see here, it says the gentry, which is the nobles, tend to favor paying taxes over making troops available for their liege. So if they had their druthers, they would rather give you money than give you soldiers. However, the thing about nobles is that nobles, the holdings that nobles have generally are better for soldiers than they are for taxes. That's why they would rather give you taxes than soldiers, because, well, they'd rather keep their soldiers for themselves so they can conquer other things. Burghers, these are basically your city mayors, and just as you would think, a city has less soldiers but more tax dollars. What do you think they want to give? Soldiers. The mayors tend to favor supplying troops for their liege over paying taxes. Imagine that. Everybody wants to give you something that you don't want to get. I mean, don't get me wrong. Soldiers are good, but we would rather have our burghers give us more taxes. The church actually favors a balance, the mix of taxes and troops. So they like for it to be set in the middle, and tribal, which we don't have to worry about, also likes to have it set in the middle. Now, as a new player, I would recommend that you just don't touch this. Just leave it as it is. You'll be able to have plenty of fun with the game, not messing with these settings. So that's just my 2 cents. Now, council laws. This is something that came in with Conclave. It's new. What this is this is showing us what the council can vote on. What does the council kind of control? You can see right now, this is the very first one. It says council power. Our council is currently, you can see by the check mark, empowered. So our council actually gets votes on a lot of different things. If you go against a council vote, something that the council doesn't want you to do, it's viewed as a tyrannical action, and you get an opinion malice with your vassals. So we can see right now, our council is empowered to make decisions about war declaration. So if we wanted to declare war on somebody, the council has to approve it. Now, because we are enabling this on the council, we get additional vassals, which is kind of neat. Also, imprisonment. Council members get to vote on imprisonment issues. So, before we can imprison somebody, the council looks at each other and they say, how do we feel about this? And if they don't want you to imprison somebody and you do it anyways, you're a tyrant. Now, there are a lot of things that can go into this, because council people can be, they're conspiring with each other, they're conspiring with you, they owe each other favors, and it's a pretty deep system. And we'll kind of go into the favor stuff later. Now, everything else, title revocation, granting titles, executing people, and banishing people, the council does not get a say on. The ruler has full authority. Full authority. So, if we wanted to abolish the council power, now this doesn't mean that the council goes completely away. What it means is that the council no longer can dictate, no, you can't declare war on that person, and if you do, you're a tyrant. They can, they have their own opinions, but it doesn't matter as much anymore. To do this, if we wanted to abolish the council, we would have to have, let's see, what would we have to have here to do this? We would have to have the law, ruler, imprisonment, sovereignty, and war declaration, sovereignty. So before we could abolish the council power here, we would have to systematically bring this back over. And before we can do this, we have to bring this back over. Does that make any sense to you guys? I think we'll play with the council on for a while. Typically, I do like to keep the council abolished because I'm doing all sorts of stuff. But we'll go ahead and play with the council for a while, and maybe if they become a little bit too millstony around our neck, then at that point we can cross that bridge and maybe try to strip the council of its power. They're not gonna like it. All right, so I guess that's probably a pretty good time for us to put a cut in. Unfortunately, we didn't really cover a whole lot, but you know what? Crusader Kings 2 is a deep game. I'm trying to make this tutorial all-inclusive so that you guys can learn about these different things within the game. Now, keep in mind, if you run into something that you already understand, feel free to skip around. Skip around, skip ahead, skip back, or I don't know if you need to skip back if you've already watched it. Skip ahead, see if I'm still talking about things that you know about, and if you... Each video is probably going to be very, very, it's going to be kind of blocky, if that makes any sense to you guys. So like this video, we talked a lot about laws, and we also talked more about our council. You can pretty much guarantee our next video is going to center a lot around technology and the military, and maybe we might get to intrigue. The reason that council and laws take so long is because there's a lot of meat and potatoes there. Military or technology, military might not take as long, and pretty much the further we go, the less time it's going to take. So I anticipate our next video will be all about technology, military, and intrigue, and the video after that will be factions, religion, and then we'll actually get into some of the other stuff. Maybe we'll talk about this and this and this, and then maybe we'll actually get to play the game by the 5th episode. Oh my goodness. So anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me, and remember, if you have any questions or anything like that, just leave a comment under the video and I'll do my best to address it in a future episode. Or I will reply to you directly on the spot and give you an answer. Thank you so much. Thank you. Until next time, game on.